Hello chess friends, I'm back again with the last chapter of this opening series of the Nimzo-Lassen attack. So in this video I will share with you how to play against the symmetrical Nimzo-Lassen attack which goes after 1b3 as our usual opening setup here. Then our opponents play the move 1b6, bishop to b2. We don't change the way we develop our pieces. We develop this dark squared bishop here, which takes aim at important central squares in the board. Then our opponents play a symmetrical move, bishop to b7. And at this moment it is actually up to you whether you continue with the move knight to f3 or you continue with the move e3. It really doesn't matter. The move order actually does not matter in this specific position. So I would actually recommend that you don't change the way you play this opening bit setup, and you will continue with the move pawn to e3, and after the move pawn to e6 you play the move knight to f3, and after knight to f6 then you continue with the move c4. The idea behind the move c4, it is to take control of the d5 square, as currently it is controlled mostly by black. If you take a look at this bishop and this knight and also the e6 pawn are currently controlling the d5 square. So by playing the move pawn c4, you establish some control in the central square d5. Hence you might want to develop your knight on c3 and not block this pawn by your knight. So you play the move pawn to c4. After the move bishop to e7, you continue with the normal move bishop to e2. After short castle, you do the same as well. And after pawn d5, black looks to strike in the center here, and you play the move pawn to d4, not letting black to play d4 in the future variation, as well as you will play the move knight to c3, and you will establish central control on the board. Black usually continues with pawn c5, then you play the move knight bd2. You're actually looking to, if black captures with this pawn over here, then you will recapture by the knight on c4, and you will have a solid yet a much more flexible position, as you can put your knight here on e5 and you put another one here on f3. Black usually continues with the move knight bd7. It actually does not matter if they play the move knight to c6 here. You're still gonna play the same moves yet again. After knight bd7, you play the move c takes on d5, and after knight takes on d5, you play the move knight to c4, putting this knight on a very active square, controlling the e5 square more, and you will play rook c1 in the near future. So black in this position mainly continues with the move rook c8, and then you just play the move rook to c1, and you have a much more playable position. And in the future you will play the move knight to e5, bishop to f3, and then you will play queen e2 and simply slide your other rook onto d1, and you will continue your attack on the center of the board. So that was a real quick review of how to play against the asymmetrical variation of the Menzolas in attack, and that is actually all that you need to know in this line. It's quite funny that it's shorter than the other ones, but anyways, if openings are symmetrical in chess, it really does not need a ton of explanation, as you will as you saw in this video, that you will just continue with the normal setup and still putting pressure on the black center of the board. So as a little bonus, I would like to share with you a game between two strong players whereby you can actually see this idea in action, and let's get to it. The game was played between Liu Yan and Liu Ganxiu, players that you probably don't know. The black player, sorry, the white player is actually 2400 rated on chess.com, and the black player is 2400 rated as well, 2430. Let's actually see the game. The white player in this position actually started with the move knight to f3, after knight to f6, c4 e6 e3, b6 b3. Sorry about that. As we can see, the game started in a not so in a not so usual way as our setup, but it actually really does not matter, as it transposed in the position that I wanted to share with you, that we got here in the symmetrical variation of the Menzolas attack. This type of a position, you will also see this position here between these two strong players. So yeah, let's get to it. After bishop to b7, bishop to b2, c5, bishop e2, bishop e7, short castle by both players, d4, d5. As you can actually see that we got the same position as we got on our analysis. In this instance, the white player chose to play the direct move knight to c3, putting the knight in a more advanced square so that it will take control over the d5 and the e4 squares. But the move knight bd2 is a more flexible option, yet is the best one. But the move knight to c3 is also good, and black played c takes on d4. White continued with knight takes on d4. After knight to c6, we see c takes on d5, e takes on d5. We can actually see that now black has a weak isolated pawn, and white's main long-term goal will be to blockade this pawn by their pieces and to attack it with the heavy pieces. So in this instance, it is you need to remember one useful idea, that you need to control the square so in front of the weak isolated pawn, and then you exchange minor pieces, and you put your heavy pieces and attack this weak pawn. That is one useful idea that you might try. So after knight to f5, putting pressure on the bishop on e7, black played rook e8, defending the bishop. White continued taking it. Knight takes e7, check. Rook takes on e7, knight to e5. White still continues to advance his forces forward, and perhaps may intend knight to d4, blockading the pawn even further and initiating more exchange of the minor pieces. Knight to e4 was played. knight to d4. You see the plan in action now. Knight takes on d4, queen takes on d4, and f6, blocking mates here on this g7 square. Sorry about that. Rook ac1 was played, rook ac8, bishop to d3, putting the bishop on a more active square, and perhaps looking to kick away the knight by playing f3 in the future. Queen e8, rook takes on c8, queen takes on c8, and f3, knight to c5, and bishop to b1. Bishop to b1 saves the material here, because in such positions a bishop is a little bit stronger than a knight, because the position is currently open here, and you can actually see that this bishop controls this long diagonal, while this knight is just hopping around in the center looking for a task to do. So it would be really not a good idea to trade off this bishop for this knight. Thus you can just keep your bishop and enjoy a more comfortable position. Then after queen e8, white played queen h4, putting strong pressure on the h7 pawn. H6 was played, avoiding this capture here over the h7 pawn. Queen to g3. As you can see, white continues putting more pressure on black's position. King f8. I don't think this move was a better move at all, because it just initiated that black is currently lost. A better alternative though would be to try something like queen to f7, defending the f6 pawn, and yeah, hopefully black would have gotten a better position after queen f7. Then after this bishop to g6, black can simply move the queen to e6 and get a better position. Let's get back to our game. King f8 was played. White played the move bishop to g6 here, attacking the queen on e8. Queen d8 was played, and after b4, knight to d7, f4, bishop to a6, rook to e1. You can see that white has a very active position, and after bishop to c4, bishop, a3, removing the pawn here. Black played king to g8, which is a weird move in my opinion. After bishop to f5, queen e8, bishop to g6, queen to f8, and bishop to f5. It looks like players are gonna repeat moves, but it would be strange to tell you that white won this game after 8 moves. Kind of spoilers though. Black played queen e8 again. After h3, queen to f7, bishop to g6, queen to e6, e4, knight to f8, bishop to f5, queen to f7, e5, f takes on e5, rook takes on e5, rook takes on e5, bishop takes on e5, knight to d7, and after bishop to e6, a very key blow. Black resigned the game because black is currently losing material at this diagonal, and if then they capture here, white can play something like queen to c3. Just joking. White can actually pull off this case of death checkmate. Queen takes g7, and due to this tactic. Black is actually defenseless. They have to give up the queen for to save their king, and they're actually gonna lose a lot of material and lose the game afterwards. So that was the game. I hope that you enjoyed it. I think it all started in this position whereby both players had a relatively similar to our analysis position, which is the symmetrical variation of the Nimzo-Larsen attack. So yeah, you may consider the move knight to c3 as your first option, but if you want to keep things more flexible, you will have to follow our analysis and play the move knight bd2, and to enjoy a more flexible and a smooth position. That gets to cover up our series in the Nimzo-Larsen attack. I hope that you enjoyed this analysis. Consider subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to hit like in this video. I will put the link of the previous video in the description below. And as always, don't forget to always keep in mind the principles that you need to follow in the opening, which are to develop your minor pieces, castle, and connect your rooks as shown in the picture in the screen, and keep crushing it. Don't forget to comment in the comments down below of which opening you would like for me to cover next. Take care, and wish you a great rest of your day.